Hi, I'm Bob Ostrom. I'm a children's book illustrator, and today we're going to talk about colored pencils. So, how do we work with colored pencils? It's a little bit different than working with a marker or a watercolor. We use these pencils and sort of build them up lightly. So, I've got a picture here that I drew of a bear. I'm going to go ahead and start coloring him in. And what I'd like to do is start with a lighter version of the color, because we're going to go from light to dark here. I just kind of lightly go in and rough out my colors here. So this is going to be a brown bear, obviously. So we'll go ahead and just kind of color him in real nice and light like this. And so the idea here is to stack our colors on top of each other and to get our blends and shadows using different colors rather than just using the same color and pressing harder on it to make it a little bit darker that way. We'll use some different colors to get in here and do our shadows and to do our darks. Okay, so start out by just kind of blocking in the color of the bear there, like that. Now, the trick is not to bear down too hard, because every type of paper that we work with will have a little thing called a tooth to it, okay? And so what the tooth is, basically, is that's how much of the paper stands up. And so when you look at paper real close up, it's kind of bumpy like this, right? And the bumpier it is, the more tooth it has. And so a paper that has a little bit of tooth to it is great for colored pencils. Not too much, because then it'll sort of skip over, but something that has a little bit to it works great. But if you start to bear down, what happens is that tooth kind of flattens out, and that's why you can't get that color as dark as you want to get it sometimes. So I'm going to use I'll use a couple of different colors here to get some shadow in this guy. All right, so I'm going to work with a little bit of a darker color of that brown here. I'm just kind of roughing my shadows right here. And then I like to use like a purple or a blue sometimes when I'm working with browns, because it really helps with the shading and the shadow look to it. And you'll notice that I'm not really bearing down that hard on my pencil. Okay, so here we go. This is where my shadows are going to be here. All right, and then I'll take, let's see, let me get in here. We'll get a little bit of color in his eyes and his teeth too. So he's going to have some yellow eyes here. So still staying light with the eyes, and maybe we'll put a little yellow in his teeth too, because that's kind of fun. And then let's see, these are all going to roll all over the place. Maybe we'll put a little green in there too, in his teeth, because you can see that this guy's kind of stinky. He probably doesn't brush his teeth all that often. All right, so let's see. We'll grab a little bit of a darker yellow and kind of go around the outside of these eyes like this. Okay, and then I'll put a little bit of that down in the belly here too, because I want this belly to be a little bit lighter than the rest of my guy. So here's the color that I was originally working with, and I'll just kind of use this for my shadow down in here, okay? Just real light around here. And then let's get this back in here with this yellow color there. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to grab I think we'll go with a little bit of a medium brown. And the thing here is, if you don't have as many colors as I have in this box here, that's fine. You guys can still work with whatever colors you have, and just sort of look for some of the colors that are a little bit close to what I'm using here. So I've got a medium brown, and you could even use crayons here. Same effect. If you just, don't bear down on them too hard, and you'll be able to sort of build up the colors the way that I'm building them up here. Okay? So let's get up in here and just put a little bit more color in here. Okay, he's starting to shape up pretty well here. Okay. And let's see, I'm looking for a nice purple in there so I can throw a shadow in there, something that has a little bit more red to it. So maybe something like this will be okay. We can just add a little bit of this purplish color into our shadow. Okay, and this is sort of a color that's in between our brown and the darker shadow that I used earlier. So this allows us to sort of blend these together. Okay. We'll that down in here in his feet because we want these to be a little more shading down in here. All right, and so now I need to get a little bit of a pink color and just kind of put that inside the ear here like this. Okay, we'll put that one over in here too. Okay, and then maybe a nice purple for his nose. I never use straight black when I'm trying to do something. Even if in real life it looks like it's straight black, I usually either use a blue color or a purple or something that's dark but not straight black, because it just gives our color a lot more character than using a straight black. Okay, and so same with the little toenails and the claws here too. We're going to do the same thing here and in the pads, right? There we go. And this is a nice color. This would actually make a good shadow color too. So we could take this and kind of throw it in down around here as well, right? Up in here, maybe a little bit kind of coming down the nose here on the muzzle, like that. That's pretty good. And we can start to build a little bit of a shape around his teeth here by adding a little bit of a shadow there, and then maybe the side of his head would have a little shadow on it too. Okay. And you can see I'm sort of gradually building up as I go. Again, I want those teeth to stand out a little bit, so I'm sort of putting a shadow behind what would be his shoulder or his arm to make those pop out a little bit. So let's yellow those up a little. Throw a little green in there too for fun. Okay, and I need this green to be a little more intense, so I'm going to use a darker color and just kind of lightly get in here. And you can see this poor guy with his green teeth. All right, and maybe just a little bit of blue on the top of those, okay? And I'll throw a little bit of blue into my shadow areas here as well. So when I look at shadows, generally the colors tend to be cooler. And when I say cooler, I mean like blues, sometimes purples. Some parts of the green family will go to a cooler color as well. My warm colors will be my yellows, my oranges, my reds, mostly browns. So when I start to build in my shadows, if I use cooler colors along with the warmer colors, I'll get a real nice blend here. So now I'm just going to kind of punch up this brown color a little bit more and start to blend this together a little bit. Okay, and you can see that this is sort of filling in nicely. And you'll notice that when I put my shadows in, I don't go right up to the edge. I kind of go along here because this gives me the idea that there's a little bit of a reflected light off the side of that, and it makes the form look like it's rounder. So if I had gone straight up to the edge, it would have been more for like a flat form, like a piece of paper or something like that. But since this guy has a little bit of a roundness to him, I go sort of close to the edge, but not all the way to the edge. Okay. So let's just finish filling this in here. That's looking pretty good. And where I want the form to shine through is where I put a little bit darker color. And I go a little bit more with this color that I'm using here. Okay, and I'll take this color and I'll bring it down into his belly just a little bit, sort of over on this side, and that'll make it look a little bit rounder. Okay, because you can see the form kind of comes down through here like this. Okay, so we'll throw a little bit of that in here. And let's pop a little bit more yellow back on top of that whole thing, just to kind of fill that shape in a little more. So again, if you don't have as many colors as I do, that's okay. You can sort of work around that, but use your cooler colors and your darker colors for your shadow, obviously. And then you can use your lighter colors and your warmer colors for the main part of it, okay? And so, because this is out front and I'm sort of blending, I'm using a little bit of an orange here. I'll take some of that back in here too, just to warm him up a little bit. Okay. Okay, and now I'm just going to throw in a little bit of a background. I'll use a little bit of this green here. My pencils are rolling all over the place. Okay, so we'll throw a little green here underneath him, make it look like he's standing on some grass or something like that. Throw a little blue in there too. Okay, I like to use a lot of color. It just makes it look a lot fuller. Okay, so we'll just throw a little bit of blue back in here behind him too. Okay, and let's try a little bit lighter color back there too. That's one angry bear. What's he all mad about? There we go. Let's get that tail colored in too. Okay, I'm just going to take this dark brown and go over my shadow a little bit because I want it to look a little bit browner. There we go. And come around this way, here like that. I like the way this sky is looking. So I'm going to throw a little bit of darkness around his eyes just to make it look like these. Bring them out a little bit, you know. So I'll take that and go around the outside here. This is with the brown I'm using here. I don't want to go too dark or make it too shadowy, but we'll go in with that brown just to kind of bring those out. Okay, there you have it. That's One Angry Bear, colored with colored pencils. Thanks for joining me. I'm Bob Ostrom. If you'd like to see more, please check out my DVD, How to Draw Animals, or visit my website at bobostromstudio.com.